What's up, folks? Welcome back to the Best Show Ever podcast, the podcast about the best shows that people have ever seen in their lives. I'm your host, Cam Hurt, and welcome to season 3. You have arrived at season 3. These are the first 2 episodes of the brand new season that has just dropped of Best Show Ever. Welcome back. If you've listened before, if this is your first time listening, welcome. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. We got a bunch of other great episodes, but you're listening to an awesome episode right now with none other than Tom Hamilton Jr. from JRAD. Was super lucky to get to sit down and talk with Tom about improv and music and art and his best shows ever. This is an awesome conversation where Tom and I get to talk about his theory around improvising, the beginnings of JRAD, the beginnings of him seeing live music, and even seeing live music into his career that blew him away. Super, super cool conversation with Tom. JRAD fans, you're gonna love this one. Let me tell you right now. Tom has got solo music as well. Tom is a solo artist. He's got a new band that he's working with, that he's touring with a little bit here in the fall, coming up in August. If you're on the East Coast, you should check out these dates. The August 9th, he's in Lancaster, PA at Zoetropolis. Check that out. The 10th, the next night, he's in Seaside Heights, New Jersey at the Beach Stage. Check that out. And then the next night on August 11th, you could really make a huge 3-night run of this if you'd like to. He's in Baltimore, Maryland at the 8x10. Okay. Check that out. Tom talks a little bit about this band that he's been playing with towards the end of this episode. So check that out. But he's also, of course, from one of our favorite Grateful Dead bands, the Joe Russo's Almost Dead. Finally got to catch them at Bonnaroo, and they just ripped my face off for an hour. These guys improvise unlike almost any other jam band in the scene. Just incredibly talented players. Tom absolutely being one of those. And again, lucky to get to sit down and chat with Tom. And so that's enough intro out of me. Let's get to our talk with Tom. If you want even more conversation with Tom, if you get to the end of this conversation and you're like, shit, I want more, there is more. It's on the Patreon. Go ahead and become a member of the Patreon. It's $4 a month. You get bonus episodes every single week, and you also get the episodes a day before the general population. And so check that out. That helps support the podcast, and it also gives you access to cool shit like me and Tom talking about comedy. That's what's going on the Patreon this week. But again, enough out of me, enough intro. Here is my conversation about Tom Hamilton Jr.'s best shows ever. But first, here's a little bit of music.
Like, you know, you have to say yes.
Yeah.
You know, like there's no like, sorry, man, you know, like, you know, you're going to say this thing and you're just going to not fucking listen to it. You know, like it's like, and I try, and I so badly want people like these other bands and stuff to like understand that, you know, where it's like, hey, man, sure, there is a form of improvising where it's just like, okay, you solo for fucking 30 minutes, and so and we're all gonna back it, and then I'm gonna solo, and then that guy's gonna solo, and whatever. But it's like that takes not nearly as much skill and teamwork, you know, as a group.
And it's not alive. It's not as alive
Yes.
as the other thing.
It's a real tightrope, you know, like this could turn into dog shit at any moment, you know?
Yeah.
And that's where I think that, I mean, that's what I would assume why people were coming to see the Dead originally and Fish originally, because you're like, well, I don't know what the fuck's going to happen, you know? And you know, it's like getting that to be the thing, man, where instead of like, you know, people just like having microphones where they could just tell each other where to go and do whatever. It's like, dude, fuck, man, like you're not improvising,
Like,
you know?
listen.
Yeah.
and
Exactly.
then say yes to the thing. Like what you were saying, the key in an improv show is the first thing that pops up. Anything like try to make one of the first two things that are said super important. Not by like saying something that's important, but
Yeah.
by everyone on the team being like, that's important. That's what we're gonna do.
Yeah.
That's what it's about. And instead, a bad improv set is like jumping around to 20 different ideas because you haven't decided what's gonna be funny or nothing's funny enough,
Yeah, because
like
nobody's sinking their fucking teeth into something, you know? It's like,
yeah.
dude, hey man, I'm gonna start something and let's write if it's on stage, like as far as acting, let's write an entire scene around this thing, you know? And if it's music, it's like, let's write a song right now. All
Yeah.
of us on stage, let's make up a fully formed song, you know? This is what I'm doing. What are you gonna do? You do what you do, and then that's gonna inform my next move. And like, but if it's just like, hey man, I'm just gonna sit back here and hold it down while somebody else is just fucking talking, it's like,
Yeah.
well, hey man, let's be conversational here, like let's
Yeah.
let's let's get into it,
Exact in that scenario, it's like one guy is committed and the rest of you guys don't really have to be committed. You can really put it
Yep.
on auto, but like when everyone is committed and making this like really committed choice, then anything that's added to it is then this also committed choice. And
Yeah.
then people commit to that. Like, you have to start
Every
there.
everyone is a willing participant to fucking walk over the coals. It's like,
Yeah.
look, we all have to do this. No one gets to sit out of turn. No one gets to play it safe. Let's all just fucking go for it. And whatever happens, happens, and that's, the Dead in 73, that's Fish in 95, like I mean, I would like to think, any of the bands that I was in over my career and JRAD, I mean, I think that was one of the things that people really responded to with JRAD when we came out was like,
Yeah.
hey man, these guys are approaching that catalog not in the way, that we're accustomed to. And, it's like, yeah, dude. Yeah, improvising's the shit, dude. And I also think, you know who Alan Alda is? Are you too young to know?
Oh yeah, I know about Alan Alda.
Okay, dude, he started like a school,
Yeah.
like all about improvising. I mean, mostly for acting. But I heard this interview with him, and he's talking about like his reasons for doing it, and he's like, dude, if people learn at an early age to improvise, it's only going to help them in life because you learn to never dig your heels in. Life is
Yeah.
going to kick your fucking ass up and down the block most of your life. If
Yeah.
you're constantly doing this, it's going to hurt more.
Yep.
Sometimes you could just let go and let it just be a fun ride, and I think learning to improvise and learning that, hey, you can have a plan, but that's not gospel. Everything is subject to change either by the smallest screwdriver or a wholesale turn. You know, don't dig in. Always be light on your feet. And like whatever. Why the fuck are we even talking about this?
Because it's the best. Because
Yeah.
it's awesome.
Do you play
It
any? Do you play music?
I play like youth pastor guitar. Like I play like I play like church on Sunday open chords, you know what I mean? But I can improvise as an actor. And so and I mean that is why I'm drawn to this style of music. And yeah, I mean JRAD truly moves as an organism and you can feel people leading and then seceding that to someone else immediately in
Yeah.
songs, and that is what we're here listening to, and I feel like, yeah, it's amazing to watch someone solo for 30 minutes, and that's an awesome thing to behold. But
For
like,
sure. I'm not taking anything away from that. I'm just
of
saying the shit that gets me fucking that I'm like that will make me want to fuck, fight, or cry
yeah,
is the shit where, it's just like what I just witnessed the birth of something. You
yeah,
watch the birth and the death of it, and then it goes back into whatever song it was or whatever, but you get to witness these moments that only happened that time, that day, at that show. That's fucking awesome, man. Like, how cool
right.
is that? I
And
don't
you guys get to operate from a place of like, I'm sure when you hear someone start speaking in a way in your set, you're like, thank God. It's not like, well, now we got to fucking listen to so and so for the next 2 minutes. Like, it's like you're like, oh, thank God. Like they've added to the conversation. I
Yeah,
will then add to their conversation in a second.
absolutely. Because it's like you can have one idea going, but as soon as the third person grabs it, right? That's when it's like, oh, this is fucking happening. You know,
Yeah.
somebody could bring something in and we're growing and it's happening, and then somebody else could hop on it, and it's like, okay, this could be cool. But as soon as that third out of five or whatever, it's like, oh, okay, now everyone's ears are at the same place and pointing in the same direction, and like, yeah, I don't know, man. It's fucking cool, dude. It's such an interesting thing, and the coolest thing about it is that you don't have to be a virtuoso at your instrument. It has nothing to do with ability. It's just a mental state. You know.
Yeah.
One more thing, and then we can move on. My dad's been sick, and he's been going through a lot of medical stuff, and it's like it's taken a toll on his body. It's fucked up his hands, and he has like this fucking thing with his arm. And my dad was a pretty okay bass player, throughout my life, and so me, him, and my older brother, we've been getting together lately and doing these jam sessions, and it's like, dude, my old man's hand, like his hands don't work, man. Like they're just
Mhm.
like, it's just it is what it is. Between
Right.
being in his 70s and fucking chemo and all this stuff, it doesn't do the thing that it did, but it doesn't matter because it's not about this. It's about this, And he's still able to fucking make things happen, while
Right.
we're jamming. And it's like, right, because you don't have to be fucking doing all the stuff. All you have to do is be listening and willing to be vulnerable enough to throw out an idea and throw out, something that can change the conversation. And it's like, yeah, I don't know. It's fucking awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, I would have so much fun improvising in Chicago, but I had just as much fun teaching. And when you got chances to see people who are kind of like improvising for the first time, or like maybe they don't even want to do comedy, they're just like doing improv so they can get out of their shell a little bit. And you watch them like get a laugh that they didn't realize where it came from. Because they just responded honestly to the last thing that was said. They just said what you would say in a conversation and get a huge pop from the audience. And they'd kind of be like, what was that? It's
That's a
because it's
high they're
not
gonna
about
chase.
yeah, it wasn't about like they didn't need to go to Harvard for and be in the Lampoon to like know how to be funny. It was just like just reacting honestly and not trying and not, and being vulnerable, like you said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that has a lot to do with it too. I think the willingness to show your ass,
Yeah.
like to just be like, hey man, what's the worst that can happen? We just train wreck in front of 5 people or 5,000 or whatever it is. All right, well, ain't the first time that's ever happened. So fuck it. Like,
I, I bet we'll be okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
like it's not like everybody's gonna, I doubt people brought fucking rotten fruit with them and they're gonna, start throwing shit. So yeah, it's that thing of like, fuck it, dude. Let's just swing for the fences or don't fucking play. Like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah,
hey,
and when you take a risk like that, it also then the audience is so much more on your side. I mean, like when you're able to pull off that moment where the, three of the five are in on it or something like that, then the crowd is going nuts. They're like,
oh
"You've
yeah,
arrived. You've
they
arrived
hear
at
it
the
too.
moment."
Yeah,
Yeah, they
they hear
know.
it too, and then they're waiting for the other, whoever's left to get on, and then once everybody's on the fucking bus together, it's
Yeah.
this thing, and yeah, it's like, yeah, if you can earn that leeway from your audience, and just be like, hey, we're gonna take big swings. It's not always gonna work, but when it works, it's gonna be the fucking shit. It's like, yeah, I don't know. It's cool, man. I don't know. I love this thing. It's really great. I could talk for another hour just about this.
Fine, let's do it. But
Yeah, your
I'm
show,
down.
man. I'm good. I'm down. I'm down. I'll do 4 hours right now. I'm good.
Yeah, no, I mean, listen, I will talk about improv with you all day. It's firing me up right now just talking about it. Yeah, and I am uh super stoked to have you on and talk about. We could talk about improv all day long, but we're going to talk a little bit about the shows that you've seen in your life.
Let's talk about that.
Um,
So this could be any show, not like
yeah,
jam band specific or any band specific. It's any show.
I'd actually prefer. Yeah, like if when we say first show, like what is the first
Okay.
concert you've ever seen in your life?
First concert I ever saw. I I can't get confirmation on this. I'm pretty sure it was the Allman Brothers at the Mann Music Center in Philadelphia with Blues Traveler opening,
Wow.
which was pretty crazy. And I mean, it was. I didn't know Blues Traveler at the time either. This is '91, so I'm fucking 11. You know, and yeah, it was mind blowing, man. It was fucking Warren Haynes, and I mean, it was the original guys were all there except for Dwayne, obviously, but it was Greg and Dickie, JMO and Butchie, and
Man.
then fucking Warren Haynes on the other guitar, and fucking Alan Woody, who was just this motherfucker of a bass player, man. He had this big Fu Manchu, and he just looked like he was gonna fuck you up, man.
Yeah,
Just
dude.
like
What?
like he was in the Warlocks or Hell's Angels, and it was menacing, dude. It was menacing. Like the music was so heavy and like vicious. Yeah, it blew my fucking mind, man. It blew my
Yep.
fucking mind.
I mean, what a era for that band. I mean, they would go on to like then have like Derek Trucks and O'Teal and do kind of that iteration, which is also like a very just such a sick iteration of the Allman Brothers. But like that is kind of the last moments of like almost nearly the full band,
Yeah,
having
yeah.
everybody there.
And
Yeah.
and they were like, that was their, like, they were coming back. They broke up for like almost a decade or something. So like they were coming back, and like you could tell they had something to prove. Like it was like they had to get their fans back, and they were fucking doing it, man. It was really, really cool. So it was either that concert,
Mhm.
or there was this hair metal band in the late '80s, early '90s called Tesla, which,
Wow.
dude, it is the most hair metal bullshit of like all of that stuff. Like this was the end of that line. Like Nirvana, like Nevermind is going to come out within probably 4 months of me seeing this concert. And just
Put the
change.
final nail in. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, the death rattle of
Yeah. Right.
hairspray. But so yeah, so it was Tesla opening, and they had this band called Firehouse opening. It was just, dude, it was the lamest of lame.
Oh,
But like, whatever. I was a kid, and like this was like shreddy guitar stuff, and like they had a pretty big record out like a year before. So I was like, whatever, man. I made my older brother take me. And
it's rock
I
and
don't
roll.
remember if that was right before the Allman Brothers or right after the Allman Brothers. But either way, it was like within fucking a couple weeks of each other. And yeah, it was just so weird. It was just such a weird, wasty experience. So I'm gonna go with the Allman Brothers because that was cooler.
It's just like Dickie Betts, guy from Tesla.
Guy from
Listen, I don't know where he's at right now. Could be a valued listener. We appreciate you listening, but I mean,
He's probably fucking, like painting apartments in fucking the Bay Area. Like actually no, I think Tesla still plays. I do. I think they're still like playing state fairs or some shit like that.
we can pretty safely say that Dickie Betts had a more impactful career on rock and roll music.
Yeah,
than
absolutely.
Yeah.
And on me as a musician.
And then you,
I
right.
I loved Dickie, and I loved Warren, man. Warren was
Yeah.
a fucking guy, dude. Loved that dude. And yeah, it was great. It was and fucking Blues Traveler, man. I mean, like,
Right.
I can vividly remember walking into the Man, and like coming around the corner and seeing the stage, and I mean, Popper. So that's a he's
Big dude.
He's a big dude, and that's a presence.
Yeah.
And I can hear the fucking harmonica. I had no idea that it was a harmonica. Like, what in the ever loving fuck is going on right now? And then I come around the corner, and it's this huge man doing that. I'm like, dude, I like look at my brother. I'm like, dude, what the fuck are you? Where did you take me? And like, And then like we sat, we sat down on the grass, and it was just fucking awesome, man. And like that
Yeah.
was that first Blues Traveler record with like But Anyway on it, and like
Right.
just like super
Classics.
hippy dippy fucking awesome stuff, man. Dude, Russo and I, we tease But Anyway all the time in fucking JRAD shit. Like it's
I
just
love
it's
that
great.
song.
Dude, it's a great fucking dude. I love Popper, man. You want to talk about like insanity. That dude, like the voice that guy had, he was one of the only people on the planet that could play the harmonica that way, right? And he wasn't a household name. Like if
Yeah.
he, like it's like, dude, if he was thinner, he would be fucking Billy Strings, or like
Right.
Derek Trucks, or I mean, he was a fucking virtuoso, man. And he wrote these incredible songs, great lyrics, incredible voice. And it's just like, man, like it's kind of fucked up that he's not like still this huge thing, no pun intended. But you know what I
Right.
mean? Like, it's like
But he's not like Kurt Cobain, or he's
yeah,
not like up there in that name
that's a
category.
real
Eddie Vedder,
yeah, man. That's a really talented fucking dude that like
Yeah.
made 3 or 4 great records with huge hit songs. I mean, huge fucking tunes.
Still played on the radio.
Still, dude, that
Still
guy's
now.
gonna be collecting mailbox money for the rest of his fucking life, man. And it's just like, it's kind of fucked up about our culture, man. Where it's like, dude, if that guy, was just like a 50-piece fucking lighter, he'd probably be like, on a Mount Rushmore of fucking 90s musicians, and yeah,
Just not hot, dude.
yeah,
He's just not hot.
I know, but he's the shit, man. I fucking love that guy, dude. Like,
Yeah, and just like moving air. Just
Yeah.
straight up moving air.
unbelievable. Like, how the fuck does that even? How do you even do that? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I love that guy, man. He's really cool. I got to play with him one time, 2 times, maybe. I don't know, but he was super nice, fucking incredible player, and yeah, the soundtrack to my early teen years of fucking trying to like hook up with a chick in a car. It's like
Throw on, but anyway.
yeah, yeah,
Just something
dude.
chill.
Yeah. Just, hey, come on, let's go back. Come on. Anyway, so that was my first.
Do you have a worst concert that you ever saw? And this could be, you don't have to put down an artist at this point. This could be your fault,
What do you mean? Like the worst concert I ever played or saw?
Worst concert you ever saw, or maybe were a part of, just worst kind of tough memory of a show.
I mean, I've seen Bob Dylan probably 20 times.
Yeah.
One of them was probably one of the worst concerts I've ever seen. It was Brooklyn Band Shell in like, I don't know, whatever the fuck it was that he played there, like 07 or 08. And it was just fucking terrible. It was just fucking terrible. There was no ifs, ands, or buts. It was just like, man, I'm not going to stay for this. This is dog shit.
We've all heard this story about a Bob Dylan show. It happened in his prime. It happened he just sometimes.
You roll the dice. Sometimes it's awesome. Now, it's like, that being said, most of the time I've seen him has been incredible.
Yeah.
The last 2 times I've seen him were the best I've ever heard him, so it's like, who the fuck knows that guy? He's Bob Dylan. He gets to do what he wants to do.
He truly does.
But man, it was real bad. Brooklyn Band Shell.
Was it the songs, or was it like it's just energy, or like was it like a
like it was just everything. Like the crowd was definitely like half of them were just there, like for like just to hang because it was a beautiful day in Brooklyn. And but even just like the energy of the band seemed like they were kind of just like, ugh,
what are we doing?
Yeah, and Dylan it was just a shit day, man. So it happens,
Listen, it happens.
It's okay, like it's all right. Shit happens, man, But yeah, it was tough. I saw a Black Crowes concert at the Mann Music Center in like, I think it was like 98 or 99, whenever they were headlining the Horde tour.
Yeah.
And it was very apparent these guys were fucked up. Like, like Chris was like 65 pounds, just like, like these guys were fucked up, man. Like really, really, giving like the Rolling Stones a run for their money of like
Yeah,
partying. And it
doing
was
that thing.
and so it was definitely just kind of like it was just like a shit show. You're like, okay, man, like everybody's missing fucking cues and like, and like that's not like a big improvising type of show, it's like the tunes are kind of the tunes. You should be able to hit the fucking changes here, and
Yeah, you should be locked in to
yeah.
some degree.
So that was that, but I've never seen anything that was like a real train wreck, like
Yeah.
where it was just like where I was like mad, you like
Right.
you feel like it's like that was terrible, so terrible. Like, it's all kind of fine.
It's
What about,
for the most part, I leave a show and I'm like, even if it was like rough, it's whatever. But like, yeah, I think there's if you see someone who's like absolutely fucked up to the point where you can tell that that can be tough. That can
yeah?
be tough to see. That
What
can be
about
tough
you?
to watch. I saw Cage the Elephant in a similar situation. It was at Summerfest in Milwaukee, which is like I'm from
Yeah, yeah.
grew up in Wisconsin.
JRAD played it last year.
It's like our Christmas, and
Yeah,
so people from Wisconsin get really stoked. It's the best part of the summer. It really is. And, there's like 100 bands playing at any given moment, and I just remember being like, "Well, let's stop." And it was like right when Cage the Elephant had that like, "Ain't No Rest for the Wicked"
oh yeah, okay, their first record. Yeah,
radios. Yeah, I was like, "Let's go check it out." And like I just remember the song, like it was like kind of rough as we were walking up, and I was like, "This isn't that great." And then in between songs, I don't know who their lead singer is, but he's chatting, and I was like, "All right, this guy's."
clearly on one. Yeah,
And like Milwaukee's down for it. You got to know Milwaukee is super down for you to be drunk. Like if you're
yeah, man. Fucking
alluding to the fact that you're drunk, they're going to be like, "This is the greatest concert of all time." But even that show, people were like, "All right,
yeah,
let's
let's reel it in a little here, just a little bit.
come on, man."
Yeah, no, those guys definitely were. From my understanding, those, they like, yeah, they partied back in the day, and it's, it's that thing of like, you give a bunch of dudes in their early 20s that kind of fucking power, just money
Yeah,
and fame.
big crowds and
Yeah, man, you're gonna fucking go nuts. Like, that's what else are you supposed to do? Like, I mean, that's what your 20s are, right? Is figuring out how to run this fucking piece of shit machine we got. It's like, so, God forbid you have those kinds of resources around. You're gonna fucking take her out for a spin, man.
yeah, I'm like underage drinking in the crowd. Like this is a shame.
Yeah.
This is really hard to watch.
Like at like 17, just like,
I would really hold it together if I had a national
yeah.
tour.
If I had all this fame and drugs
If
and
my
hit
face
some.
was that big on a video screen right next to me, yeah, I'd be super chill about that. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's very difficult to pick your best show ever. This is almost an impossible task that I've asked of you. But do you have any shows that are like honorable mentions that you'd be remiss if you didn't bring them up on the show?
Yeah.
Yes.
So, highlights of my life of shows. One, I saw Paul McCartney in early 2000s, and I took my mom, and it was whenever George Harrison died. It was that year. It was like a couple
Wow.
months after Harrison died,
Yeah.
and it was just the coolest fucking thing I've ever seen, man. You had people, there were 6-year-old kids and 70-year-old adults, and they were all losing their minds, just
Yeah.
losing their fucking minds. And it was just, this incredible set list of tunes where you're just like, it's fucking Paul McCartney, man.
Fucking Beatles.
Like,
Yeah.
and then he breaks out a ukulele, and it's just him, spotlight, and he breaks out a ukulele, and a big picture of George Harrison comes up behind him, and the
Oh,
place
jeez.
is, everyone's just kind of like, I'm not
Oh
crying.
boy.
Yeah. And it was like super intense. And he's like, George loved to play the ukulele. So I learned how to play this song on the ukulele for George. And he plays something on the ukulele. And
Fucking
dude, it was intense.
Yeah.
I mean, the dude just fucking died, And then a picture of Lennon comes up behind him.
Mhm.
John, not Vladimir.
That one.
And dude, not a dry eye in the fucking house, man.
Yeah.
Everyone's just fucking like, "Ah." And and he's like, when a lot of people say that, that John and I had our problems, and whatever. He's like, but I'm here to say that, we were good. By the time John passed, we worked out our stuff, and we were back to being buds. And this is a song I wrote for him, and he played this fucking tune that just like it was just like finish him,
Yeah.
like fucking Temple of Doom shit, man, just pulling out your heart, just you know, it was fucking dude, it was just so fucking intense and beautiful, and everyone there was at the same place emotionally, it was really special. And then comes back, the band comes back, and he just kills it, and it was incredible. It was really, fucking Paul McCartney, man, the guy changed the world. It was
He is like the professional of professionals. Like the guy doesn't take a sip of water during the show because he
no
thinks it's unprofessional. He fucking, it's 3 hours long. Every song is like the greatest song that's ever been written of all time. And he still plays that tune, the one that he played for John. I've seen Paul 4 or 5 times
oh
now, and yeah,
shit,
he plays
that's
it every single time. Yeah,
awesome.
I mean, like when he comes through, I'm like, yeah, what am I gonna not go see
Yeah.
Paul McCartney?
Oh, fuck Paul McCartney. Wow, man, you're gonna fucking go.
And
So yeah,
that
man.
thing that you describe is kind of the best part of the show is when you get like the first time I saw him was at Wrigley Field, and we're standing on the field and there's like, yeah, little kids, there's, teenagers there smoking pot. There's like, a dad with his son and all this stuff. And then he came out, yeah, opens with Magical Mystery Tour. And there are like,
Oh
you
my god.
know, women my grandma's age, like holding each other, crying like it's the Ed Sullivan Show. Like,
Yeah.
50 years later, I'm just like, yeah, you're like at a Beatles concert. It's like, yeah, it's
It's
crazy. I
fucking
mean,
incredible, man. It
yeah,
really is just so fucking cool. So that's on the list.
for
Um,
sure.
I saw Roger Waters do The Wall.
Yeah.
It was the first one, like the first leg of that, of him doing that. So it was still in arenas. Like when he first did it, it was like, all right, let's see. Because up until then, he only played solo material when he toured. He
Yeah.
wouldn't play Floyd stuff really. So, he was doing this thing. So they did it in arenas first, and then it was so fucking big, it just went right to football stadiums. But so
Yeah.
it was an arena, so it was still relatively small. And I just remember watching it and being so moved by the whole production. And because it's like, I mean, that's the thing where it's like, what's coming next. Like, there's no
Yep.
surprise musically at all.
Yeah.
Like I know what the next song's gonna be, Mother. Here it comes. And
Yep.
like, um, but the production was so fucking moving, and I just remember thinking to myself, like this is the best thing that I've seen, like, people do together. Like this isn't about the band or Roger or even the song. It's everything. There's probably 200 people involved in that production, and what they were able to do. It was, yeah, it was just incredible. I mean, like, here we are still fucking talking about it. It was really, really just special. To see the care that was put into it. And at the time that, they do this thing now, like it's like, the fuck's it called, like light mapping or something. It's just like the way all
Mhm.
this new lighting works. This was the first He was like the first guy to be using this shit in like rock music. So like no one had seen that technology, like that 4K, like,
Yeah.
insanity. Yeah, the whole thing was just, it was very like overwhelming in a beautiful way. And just seeing like what the power of people working together is. Now
Yeah.
that
No,
all
like,
being said, the best show I ever saw
oh,
is Radiohead
oh,
in Camden. And it was King of Limbs tour, I think.
hmm
Um, You know, they are you a Radiohead guy?
Little bit.
Very good band.
Yeah.
You know, I think they're a very good band.
You are not the only person who's brought up Radiohead in their top shows ever. I mean, they get brought up for good reason.
That's okay, cool. I'm glad to hear that. You know, I mean, you know, the Beatles, Radiohead, I think it would be our Beatles. You know, I think of just as far as innovation in what guitar-based music can be and what it can do. Innovation in what songwriting, even the definition of it is. You know, I mean, Kid A is, yeah, I mean, you know, like you wouldn't have most of what pop music is now, you know, like that first Billie Eilish record or La Lorde or any of that stuff.
Yeah,
That's all fucking, that is direct.
Tom York.
You know, coming off of fucking what he was doing with the Kid A and Amnesiac era, just, you know, the redefinition of what a song can be and a pop song at that. I mean, you know, it's fucking crazy, really, what those guys did, and continue to do. You know, it's like I think people are just now catching up to Kid A. No one's still come close to fucking Hail to the Thief or any of this stuff. I mean, like, you know, it's like they're just on a different thing. But anyway, I saw them in Camden. It was on the King of Limbs tour, and they, you know, they used to play with like loops and computers and stuff like that, or drum machines. For this record, they got a second drummer. They got the drummer from fucking Portishead. This guy Clive. I don't know. It's something very British.
Clive.
Yeah, Clive sounds pretty good.
Clive.
And so now they were playing and they were doing this. You know, I love electronic music. I think like good electronic music super cool. I don't mean necessarily like bass heavy stuff. Like I'm not talking about just like, you know, but like all electronic music. I think there's like utility in all of it. I think there's some great shit out there, you know. And
Absolutely.
So they were able to have this second drummer playing the drum loop stuff. You know, so like they were no longer tethered to a grid. Everything was human at this point, and everything was able to breathe, and time of the song was able to just, you know, like the thing about things that are set to a click track is that there's no humanity to it, right? Like there's no give and pull. There's no way to, you know, unless you like map out the tempo, like there's no way for things to naturally breathe in a way that, you know, democratically decided time gets, you know, happens, you know, like that's its own thing when there's, you know, however many people on stage communally deciding what the tempo is. You know, it's like, you know, like you listen to like a Rolling Stones multi-track and you listen to just Keith and he's like super laid back, but like, you know, Ron Wood is super on top of the beat and the bass player is like fucking dragging this way and the drummer's pushing that way. And you listen to them all separately and you're like, oh, this is kind of dog shit. But when you put it together, that communal time, all of a sudden
it's
man, you know. And Radiohead was able to take what they were already doing, which was already at such an elevated level, and managed to fucking make it even better, you know, in my opinion. You know, and yeah, I was watching this happen and I was like, oh, this is the best band on the planet.
Man.
No one can do this. You know, like no one can do what happens when these six guys get on stage. No one can do that. It's like, I mean, you know, it's very similar to the Grateful Dead, you know, really, you know, I mean, or you know, bands where it's, yeah, everybody can play and they can do whatever they do. But when it's a particular crew, it's like a portal opens up and it's just like, here's magic, you know. It's I don't know, it blew my fucking mind, man. I wasn't on drugs, you know. I was you know, completely sober, and I just couldn't fucking believe it. I just couldn't fucking believe it that I didn't even want to play music after it. I was just like, why bother?
I was just gonna ask where you were in your career or your timeline with music at that point
Oh, I mean, dude, I
for
was
that show.
this is probably 2000 and fuck, King of Limbs. The latest it was probably 2010 maybe, or something like
Yeah,
that. I mean, dude,
right.
I'm no, it was probably later than that, but whatever. I mean, I'm well into a career at this point, man. Like,
Yeah,
it's like, yeah, it's like that thing it's like simultaneously so inspiring and also disheartening, where you're just like, fuck, man, that is like that is the most perfect example of whatever the fuck it is. Like, why would anybody try anything else? Did you watch that Beatles doc that was just on, or the
oh, yeah.
acting? That's
Yes.
the best example of it, I think. Like, you're watching four cunty little pricks snip at each other for about 7 hours, you know?
Yeah,
And, yeah, I get it. I understand what's going on in there, but they're just four assholes
yeah,
figuring it out. And the moment they go on the roof and they step through that door, it's the Beatles.
yep,
It's not That's not those four guys that you saw downstairs fucking, you know, getting hammered and fucking talking shit. It was the Beatles.
yep.
And as soon as they counted it off, man, it was just like, boom, there it is. This magic can only happen this way. And it's like, it's fucking incredible, man. Like that's as close to like real David Copperfield shit that exists in the world. Like,
Yeah,
it's,
you're watching people channel a thing,
yeah,
that
like
that is not alive until they step out there, like you said. Like and when they're in that room together, the thing is not alive. It's completely gone.
no,
Um,
they're just kind of like, my idea, your idea, blah, whatever the fuck. But when it's time to do it, like it's it's just like, oh, is this your card?
yeah.
And you're like, fuck, how the fuck did David Blaine over here just pulled my ace of spades out of his asshole? I don't know how it happened, but fucking, it's mind blowing.
I
So yeah,
know, man.
sorry,
Do
man, I'm rambling.
Hey, that's what you're here to do.
Okay.
You're here please,
I
by
just
all
feel
means.
bad.
Do you feel I mean there's stuff that you guys pull off in JRAD and the music that you get to play that is music that's already so alive, the Grateful Dead catalog is just the nature of the music itself. But are there times you're stepping out of a song or you're stepping off stage like, man, what did I just pull off with this band? Like that was beyond me almost. Like that was a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, not in like a cocky way, in
Yeah.
just like, uh, I mean, the first show we ever did was
Yeah.
not a thing. That was not a fucking thing, dude. Like we all were just like, yeah, whatever. It's a gig. It was, that gig paid my rent that month. That's all it
Yeah.
was. Like we had fun, but like, there was no plan other than that show. We weren't like starting a Grateful Dead cover band.
Yeah. Right.
You know what I mean? Like we were literally just working on a Saturday night. That's it. But when we walked off the stage, I could, I could vividly remember it, man. And just like Joe and I walking off and just look at each other and be like, hey, was that really fucking good? Like, because we expected it to just be fucking whatever, like we didn't care. But like even like we felt it where it's like, oh, what the fuck happened? And that's not us. When anytime I can remember that happening with JRAD, it's not just us. It's the fact that the audience is fucking giving it to us. And I don't mean like sucking our dicks. I mean they're engaged. Like you can tell
Yeah.
that they're excited and and they and they're like, all right, what do you got? And like
Yeah.
that's a great energy. It's a great energy, man. And it just centrifugal force. Yeah, it's just shroom, shroom, shroom. And then on the really, really, really magical nights are the nights where it you don't even think about what's happening until it happened. I mean, it's like any improvisation, man, right? Where it's just like, I blacked out. You know
Yeah.
what? Like I don't know why I responded that way, but it was the right response. In the moment, and and when we all do that, it's yeah, man, it's fucking crazy. I mean, like, yeah, you walk off and you're just like, holy shit, what the fuck was that? And yeah, those are yeah, that's why you do it. Like we're all chasing that high, of like of creation. I mean, or at
Yeah.
least that's the way I would think it goes.
Yeah, I mean, like you could sit down right now and map out a ripping "Here Comes Sunshine" if you'd like to, and be like, "This is what we're gonna do. This is what's gonna happen on stage tonight. It's gonna be fucking sweet. I already thought of it. It's awesome." And it just is not gonna compare to the thing where you step off the ledge,
Yeah,
and be like, "I don't know."
because there's no magic.
Yeah,
Like it's just like I don't know that like it bums me out, man. Like the idea of like planning. You
yeah,
know,
it's a bummer.
come on, man. We don't need to do that. Like
It's
it's not a thing that you need to do really. Like with this stuff, especially. And I hope I don't know, man. I hope that people are stoked on like that thing, and like just I don't know. It's just like, hey, don't worry about perfection. Chase the energy, man. Chase the moments, and you're gonna shit the bed a bunch, but then you learn to not, and then you get better at it. It's like anything else. But you get to have those moments if you go for it. I don't know. That's just one
it,
dickhead opinion.
it's the exact right dickhead opinion because I mean because it's so true. It's like if you if you want to plan it all out, it's like driving the hike.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
you can drive to the view and awesome, great job, we did it. But like you guys earn these moments that you bake into these shows that people get so excited about. Like those aren't of course they're rehearsed and you guys rehearse together, but like this is these are a moment that's really alive. You guys are finding it the same time the audience is finding it,
yeah.
maybe like a millisecond before,
Maybe.
maybe. But
But
like,
and that's the thing, man. And like, yeah, I don't know. I got this fucking new band of like, I'm like playing, I play original music as well, and I got this new crew that I've been playing with, and it's just so fucking fun
yeah,
because I don't know these guys as well as I know. It's I mean like all of us in JRAD have known each other for 20 years. It's like we've all known each other since like the early 2000s.
yeah,
And we've all played with each other in some varying capacity for most of that time. So like there's a lot of history there, and there's great shorthand, and that's why we have the chemistry we have. But the dudes I'm playing with now, two of them, I've really only known for a few years, and like it's exciting because I have no idea what the fuck they're gonna do, and it always, you know, just fucking, all of a sudden I'm like, whoa, what? Okay, didn't know that was gonna happen, and it
yeah.
forces my hand to just do some other shit, new information, and like, yeah, I don't know, like I'm excited by it, it's like, yeah, cool, man, let's just keep going for it and see what happens, and like, yeah.
That was my conversation with Tom Hamilton Jr. Just a great guy. I mean, this conversation fired me up so much. Just talking about improv, talking about just the similarities between collaborating as a comedian or collaborating as a musician live on stage. It takes saying yes, takes agreement. It takes removing yourself from it. And Tom just put so much of that so beautifully. And so if this is your first time listening, like I said before, thank you so much for listening to the Best Show Ever podcast. Appreciate you on that. If you're coming back, welcome back. Thank you for coming back and listening to Tom's episode. We got another episode out right now with Ari Fink from SiriusXM. He talks about some of the best shows he ever saw growing up in the Maryland area, seeing No Doubt. I mean, great episode. And Ari is actually the guy who hooked up this Tom Hamilton Jr. episode. Put us in touch, and so this week is all thanks to Ari Fink. Again, folks, thank you so much for listening. If you're listening on Spotify, go ahead and rate us 5 stars if you feel that way. If you're listening on Apple Podcast, if you could leave a review, that would be awesome. If you're watching on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube channel. You should watch these episodes on YouTube. You get all the Tom's little hand gestures. You get all the little dynamics between the two people going on. The YouTube channel is where it's at. Subscribe to that. And until next week, guys, have a great show.